Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It is Gratitude Shift Wednesday, and we are talking about focus on today. Focus, right? Listen, it may not be what you think it is, okay? From lemons to lemonade, change your lens, you can change your life, okay? I'm gonna tell you this. It's not always your life that needs to change, okay? Sometimes it's how you see your life, how you see your situation, how you looking at it, and simply put, it's just the lens, right? It's the lens that you're looking at life through. So the situation that you're going through, it may not be a curse, it may not be the worst thing ever, right? It may be an invitation. I offered a perspective earlier when I started the project that if we start to look at our triggers as invitations, right? This whole idea of our emotions, in a sense, being an invitation, right? So my sadness is an invitation, or is communicating to me like my stomach is growling, and my stomach growls when my stomach growls, it's telling me that, hey, I'm hungry, right? So in a way, our emotions are there to communicate or to offer an invitation. And so sometimes when we're seeing a situation a certain way, that too can be an invitation to possibly look at it different. Okay. That disappointment. So again, that situation may not be a curse, it may be an invitation. That disappointment, it may be a time where you can redirect yourself, right? And the heartbreak, which a lot of us go through, right? It may be what you needed to clear your path, right? To really kind of get a better understanding of what it is you need and what it is you want. And I just know that a lot of times when we go through breakups with our friends and our family members, we tend to take those situations as proof and validation that, we don't need anybody, or we just going to isolate. And listen, there is a part of life, again, when we talk about our love of self, but there is the healthy part of life where we have to learn how to connect. And so today we're talking about focus, how to really take these lemons and make lemonade. So again, it's Project Life. We're in season 2. This time is personal. So I'm going to take you through the lemons to lemonade mindset shift, because you don't rise to your potential. Remember, you fall to your level of perspective. Again, one way I say that is you don't rise to your goals. You fall to your standards, right? In a sense, the same thing. You don't rise to your potential. You actually fall to your perspective. So if you have a perspective that's tainted, then it doesn't really matter what's happening outside of you. It's always going to determine your behavior and your emotions. So I want you to ask yourself, what's something that you've been seeing as a punishment that might be just time for a pivot? I was talking yesterday, I had a lot of meetings on yesterday, but I was talking to an individual on yesterday, and I was just, sharing my insight with like how we have this like, God is punishing me, God is blessing me, life is punishing me, what did I do wrong type of perspective. And when we have that, then it really in some way communicates that I don't have any control over my life, right? In some way, you know or the more good I do, then the more good should happen to me. And so I'm aspiring to be the good girl, I'm aspiring to be the good guy. But then when life hits me back with something that doesn't feel good, then I feel like my work is not adequate, is not enough, and it feeds that part of me that's not enough. So now I perform harder and I go in harder, because I'm like, okay, well, I must need to really shut people out, and I really need to start exercising, and we just work on just being good, 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 because the gooder I am, I guess, in a sense, the more blessed I am. And the thing about life is that in God itself, creation, just life, no matter how good you are, there's a verse that say, listen, it rains on the just and the unjust, right? So that means that things are going to happen to you. So when we can learn how to take those things that may have felt like lemons and transmute that into some type of lemonade, something that's edible, something that we can take in, I think that we can feel better about our life. So, my powerful question for you today is: what if the thing that you've been calling a setback is really an invitation for you to shift your lens? What if the thing that you've been calling a setback is truly an invitation for you to shift your lens? I'm sorry, I'm moving my mic, so if y'all hear that, yeah, because here's the thing. I think a lot of times, we are seeing situations as, uh, you know, as proof that, you know, as proof of whatever we're expecting. So if I'm expecting that you're not a good person for me, or maybe I shouldn't be in this relationship, then guess what? I'm filtering out. Just my brain, my reticular activation system is going to see the things that support that. However, if I'm expecting life to show up for me, to meet me, if I'm expecting everything to work out for my good, right? Then my life, my reticular activation system, something about me is going to look for that. So I got to ask you again, what if the thing that you've been calling a setback is really an invitation for you to shift your lens? Okay? Here's what I want to say. I want to say my good morning. So good morning. Okay, good morning. Most people don't need a new life, right? Most of us don't need a new life, although we're praying for it, right? We need just the new lens, And what's coming up in my spirit is a lot of times your good morning, Dale. Good morning, Mama Sharon. A lot of times we are looking at our life feeling like, I got to change everything. And I'm reminded of glasses, right? So sometimes you need to change your prescription. Maybe that prescription worked for you at a season in your life, but now it's not working anymore. You probably need to change your prescription, right? How are you solving the problem? How are you looking at the problem? And moreover, become more solution oriented and look for the different solutions that can solve this problem. All right, listen again. Most people don't need a new life; they need a new lens. Uh, the pain didn't change, right? The loss didn't reverse, the diagnosis, it doesn't disappear. But when your lens change about the pain that you're experiencing, when your lens can change about the loss that you have experienced, when your lens or your story can change about a diagnosis or something that's happening in your life, guess what? That shifts your power back to you. All right. So when your lens can shift from why, right? Why me? Especially why me, right? And a lot of us carry that, the why does this happen to me, or why am I the only person, or why do I feel? So when you can shift that from why me to what now, right? Because what now is so much more of a powerful position. Okay, this has happened. What now? What is my next step? What is my next move? Even in the what now, it brings you to the present moment, and it's saying, hey, I'm looking for a solution. All right. Why me is looking for, um, if you think about it, so I want you to think about it. Why me? I want you to ask yourself, what is that communicating to my brain? It's actually looking for data to support why you're in the situation that you're in. So, why me? Now you're asking your mind to give you all the reasons why you could be in this situation. And guess what your mind gonna do? Because it's so fabulous, it's gonna tell you every reason why. Well, maybe it's because you didn't do this, or maybe it's because they felt like this, or maybe they did this, right? Does that make sense? Right. So, but when we can shift it from why me to what now, now you're positioning your brain, you're positioning your body, and moreover, you're positioning the divinity in you to start searching for solutions. Oh, maybe you can call this person. Maybe you can do this. Maybe you need to seek out therapy, right? So now your mind is more solution focused, all right? And that is where you gain your power back, all right? So today we're not just surviving the sour seasons of our life. Guess what? We're transforming them into purpose. All right, we're transforming them into purpose. Why am I having this session today? Because too many people are stuck rehearsing bitterness. All right, not realizing that bitterness is begging to be transformed. It don't need to be transformed. It is there. That contraction is there for the expansion. But we are so stuck in talking about the contraction, the pain, the hurting, right? That we don't realize, oh, that contraction is there because life wants to dilate. It wants to open. Something wants to be birthed out of me, but I'm paying more attention to the pain, right, than I am the process of why the pain is even here. All right. So I want to show you how to turn life's hardest moments, all right, into a fresh perspective, right? Into a fresh perspective. And I think it's so important that we have that. All right. Good morning, big little brother. I love you too. I love you too. Right. I think it's so important that we are able to really turn these hard moments into fresh perspectives so that we can start anew, right? We get an opportunity every day to start anew. Even the word good morning is, hey, you've lost something. Morning means you lost something. But the perspective of a good morning is you've lost something, and let's, in a sense, have a good perspective about this thing that you lost. Let's take a lesson from your yesterdays. Let's in some way expand on what you lost, right? And not get stuck in that mourning of loss, of pain, or whatever. All right. So here's your disclaimer for the day. This is not about toxic positivity. What is toxic positivity, right? Is this, to me, toxic positivity is where we can be going through a very rough situation and we are performing, in a sense, and I'm saying that softly, like, I'm grateful. We're spiritually bypassing. We're not really feeling the thing that we need to feel, and we're not looking for the lessons because we're trying to skip over the mud. We're trying to skip over the lemons, right? We don't want to feel the sourness. So it's like, what is the positive thing? And it's toxic because even the behaviors in toxic positivity is not, guess what, positive. Cutting people off, right? Calling people toxic, you know, um, making other people, in a sense, trying to control other people through your boundaries. Your boundaries are for you, they're not for other people. Getting mad at people because they're crossing your boundaries, it's not for another person to to um to hold your boundary. It's your boundary. If you say that I'm not accepting calls after 6 o'clock and a person call you at 7 o'clock, it's your responsibility not to answer that phone, not get mad at the person for calling you at 7 o'clock. That's why boundaries are hard, because we're not putting up boundaries so that other people can follow our rules. We're putting up boundaries so that we can enforce it, right? And I think that when we talk about boundaries, it's like, well, my boundary is this, and they keep crossing it. Okay, so when they cross it, what do you do to establish it? What do you do to set the boundary back? How are you communicating that they even crossed this boundary outside of cutting them off and getting mad, right? Because that's the work. That's the work. And when we talk about toxic positivity, a lot of times we're missing that work. All right. So this is not about that. This is about redeeming perspective, right? Changing your lens. We're not pretending that lemons don't exist. All right. We're not pretending that you're not hurting right now, that life is not contracting on you. We're not pretending that you don't feel like the weight of the world, right, is upon you right now. We're not going to pretend that. But what we're going to choose to do is, or what we're choosing to ask is, what's in this for me? Okay. What's in this situation for me to learn? What's in this situation for me to hold, for me to heal? What's in this situation for me to release? What's in this situation for me to rise? Right? What's in this situation that I can extract, right? The the understanding that's going to move me to my next season, to my next growth, right? And a lot of times, in that healing, in that learning, in that release, that is in itself emotional, right? If I have to make a decision to change the dynamic of our relationship, um yeah, that saddens me. All right. And I need to feel that sadness, right? And I'm gonna feel that. If life is pressing on me and I'm in a situation that doesn't feel like it's in alignment, now I have to make some decisions. That's not going to be easy. My nervous system may go to fight, fight, freeze, or fawn. So now I got to be patient with myself and compassionate with myself. Does that make sense? If that makes sense, put a heart in the chat for me. All right. So I want to say good morning and welcome you back to Life Lessons. We have 15 minutes. And I'm just now. So good morning. Good morning. Good morning. We're at Life Lessons. It's Gratitude Shift Wednesday, you guys. So I want you to take your deep breath because, again, this is your time, right? No pressure, just your presence. And I want to welcome you back to Life Lessons. If you're new here, um, I want to welcome you to Life Lessons. Life Lessons is a part of Project Life. Project Life is where we turn theory into practice. Okay. And why are we turning theory into practice? Because there's just so much out there, right? And we have to, because we're unique, each one of us is unique. I do believe that we have to understand how this applies to me and what part of it applies to me. All right. I am the Dr. Little, the creator of the Stop and Now method. And what the Stop and Now method is a method that helps you stop your past, right? Get present enough in the present so that we can ultimately change your future. All right. I served as a therapist for 20 years. I now work as a life coach and emotional strategist. All right. You can join the project by going to SheilaLittle.com/life to get your accountability coaching. And we have labs and other nice gifts for you when you come into the community. But this is the recording for Life Lessons. So I thank you for being a part of it on this morning. I want you to drop a word in the chat. Let me know to describe how you've been seeing your situations lately. Not what's happening, but how you've been seeing what's been happening. So when these situations are happening, do you think that life is happening to you? How have you been seeing your situations lately? Because we got to know that 10 people can experience the same situation, right? The same accident, the same individual, and have 10 different perspectives about that. So what we want to honor on today is like, how have I been experiencing my situation, right? And kind of be honest about that. If you don't want to drop it in the chat, just ask yourself that as we do our body scan, just a quick minute body scan. Again, just getting present in your body, feeling your feet on the floor. And we're going to fill ourselves up on this morning. So we're filling ourselves up from our feet today, up our legs. And again, we're filling ourselves up with some gratitude, some thanksgiving, love, some compassion, right? And really transforming any type of lemon state that we may have in our body, emotionally, mentally, or otherwise, and really making this lemonade with it, right? So we're adding some love, we're adding some compassion, we're adding some understanding because your body is phenomenal, but it's also working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And a lot of times it's not even working by your request, right? Your body is the most it's not voluntarily, what is it, involuntarily, right? So basically your heart is beating without you telling it to beat. Like if you told your heart to stop beating right now, it's not going to stop beating. So it's involuntarily, right? Your lungs, you breathe involuntarily. And I think it's so phenomenal, one, that we have this involuntary body, but we try to control aspects of it, right? So we try to control what we feel when your body is showing you that it's involuntary, right? Your eyes are blinking, you're hearing, you're breathing. So much of what you do is involuntary. Even the way my hands are moving now, I'm not telling you my hands to move like this, but my hands have come to understand that this is how I communicate, right? And even if I try to not do it and just hold my hands down, when I stop thinking about holding my hands down, guess what? They're going to pop up again and they're going to start doing this, right? Because my body is involuntary. And so when we think about making lemons into lemonade, we have to think about what part of my life can I control, right? And really accept a lot of the parts that I can't control. So again, let's go up our legs, just bring some compassion and love. Our knees, our thighs, our butts in the seat if we're standing up, our legs, right? Just up our legs, our torso, coming up our spine. I really like to bring attention to the spine because that's where your nervous system is in every vertebrae, right? So going up our spine, bringing some compassion at every organ in our body, right? Our digestive system, our lymph nodes, like all of the phenomenal veins and so much in the body, right? That's phenomenal. I used to want to be a doctor. I am a doctor, right? But I used to want to be a doctor of the body because I felt like it was just so phenomenal. All right, bringing some attention to our heart space. Again, if you can feel some contraction around your heart, I know a lot of things may be going on. There may be a lot of weight that we're experiencing with life, with politics, with religion, with just the world itself. And we sometimes can hold on to that. So let's just bring some love and some compassion to our heart space, on our shoulders, feeling the weight lift off of our shoulders, down our arms, just bringing some compassion, filling our body up. Remember, we're making lemons, we're taking lemons and making lemonade, and we're doing that with our body as we're scanning up our necks, bringing some attention to our jawline, our mouths, nose, softening our ears. So as we hear today, we can hear a little different, right? Softening our eyes so our perspectives can change. All right. And then thanking our brains for something called neuroplasticity. So just because I'm thinking this way today doesn't mean that this is how I always have to think. Okay. All right. Top of our head. All right. And then just the space around us. Right. And then giving some love and support to our biggest organ, which is our skin. All right. All right. And then just letting ourselves know, listen, I love you. Right. I love you. Thank you so much for carrying me. All right. So who is this session for today? This session is for you if you've been stuck in a cycle of why me. It's for you if you've been carrying bitterness towards a moment you didn't expect, right? And that just can sometimes happen naturally, right? You just carry, you wasn't expecting something to happen, and so naturally you have some type of resistance to it. All right. This session is for you if that's something you've been experiencing. It's for you if you've been waiting on change but afraid to really shift how you see what's already here. All right. And if you've been stuck staring at the lemons in your life, okay, this session is for you if you've just noticed all the lemons, right? Right. This session will help you hopefully make lemonade with those. All right. So here's today's quote. When you change your lens, you actually change your focus. And what you focus on actually shapes how you feel. I think it's so important that we understand that where your attention goes, your energy flows. And by design, by default, we are in survival mode. So we're looking for safety. Just by, we have a part in our brain. It's called the reptilian brain, right? That's your old brain. That's the brain that's passed down to you from generation to generation. Okay. Now, if you grew up, a melanated person, right, a part of the BIPOC population, or in any type of trauma, something like that, your family did, there's a natural response that you're going to have to want to be safe. All right. So to focus on something different is a manual shift. All right. So in some way, it's like I'm recognizing that you need to be safe, body. But as your parent, right, I'm coming in and I'm regulating you. So if we think about this safety thing like a parent and child, your child, if you're a mother or father, you know that sometimes your child could just be irrational. My brother, he fishes, and so a lot of times I'm watching fishing stuff on my feeds, and I seen this little girl, and she caught a fish, right, and she reels the fish in, but she's like screaming like ah, ah, like screaming at the fish about this fish, and it's like a little sunfish, right? So the dad comes in and is like, listen, calm down, grab the fish, right? Because her perspective of this fish was like she was so scared, and she like literally was like hyperventilating. And then the dad came in and was like, it's just a fish, right? Come in, like it's okay, it's safe. I want you to think about your mind doing that to things that's just a fish, to things that's just a situation, to things that's just life. Okay. And you are having a temper tantrum emotionally on the inside, and you're seeing this situation as lemons, right? Because you've been trained to, because you want to stay safe, and it triggered some feelings that you don't want to feel. And you, as the divine individual, you as the adult, right? You as the adult, the parent, right? You are coming in saying, hey, that's just sadness. This is just a situation, right? I know it feels sad right now. I know it feels overwhelming, but we're going to get through this, right? So you're allowing your nervous system to feel safe, right? And if you can't do that, then that's where you go get support, right? That's where you go and you get the therapist and you get the coach so that they can help you learn how to become the parent of your life, of your nervous system, so you can now start to get in alignment, and tell your body and your cells what they need to do to feel safe. If you saw me pause, I'm thinking about The Nanny. Do y'all remember the show The Nanny? What was it called? Like, it was like this British lady, and she used to come into people's houses, and their kids was like just, yeah, they kids were a lot, right? And the families used to go in and hire this lady, and she would come in and she would put systems in place, and within a couple of days, like, the kids were regulated. We have a couple of people who train dogs, right? Like, they come in and they help that individual, that this dog may not be listening, it's pooping everywhere, it's tearing up stuff, and the person is coming in to help them, you know to train them on how to get this dog in order. I want you to think about that same process. That's why we do therapy. That's why you have a coach, because what we do as professionals, as therapists, as coaches, is come in and help you manage the chaos that's going on emotionally, mentally, and otherwise in your life. So again, these lemons that's happening, we help you to shape them into lemonade. All right. So again, our quote for today is, when you change your lens, you change your focus. And when your focus change, you can actually, it shapes how you feel. All right. Listen, bitterness doesn't always come from what happened, right? It comes from how you're looking at what happened. Okay. It doesn't always come from what happens. It's coming from how you look at what happens. Now, I know your brain is like, no, that person did that and it was wrong and they should have did it this way, right? Okay, right. But know that that is supporting your feel. The narrative that you have is supporting your feelings. I think it's so amazing. I am a marriage and family therapist, so I work with hundreds of relationships, right? When I Hundreds of relationships. And I think it's so interesting because when I'm working with these relationships, depending on what the people want to do is going to determine how they see the experience. So the people that I work with, when they want this relationship to work, it's going to, when the person wants to stay, it's going to determine what narrative they tell themselves about whatever that person did, right? So if that person has some infidelity, if that person didn't go work, if that person wasn't probably meeting their expectation, right? Based on what the person, like, if I want to stay with this person, that's going to determine the story that I tell myself. But if I want to leave this person, then that's going to determine how I see how I see that situation. Does that make sense? So again, bitterness isn't always about what happens, it's about how you look at what happens. So when you can change your lens, that's when we can apply this lemons to lemonade framework. And we know what lemons is, right? So lemons is the lack of energy, motivation, organizational and operational skills, necessary supports and skill sets, right? To really have the life that you desire, deserve. Okay. And what I do is I take this lemons condition, we use the stop and now framework, and then you will get lemonade. So I say that lemons is the diagnosis, the prescription is the stop and now framework, and the outcome is this lemonade. What is lemonade? Learning how to leverage your time. Okay. Learning emotional management. All right. I used to say mending relationship, but managing your health and well-being. All right. Um, Overcoming your obstacles, okay? Navigating life on your terms, attaining your goals, developing healthy and supportive relationship, and establishing your net worth. And your net worth is not just your finances, but it's your value as an individual, right? So how you see yourself, how you value yourself, and how you value yourself is directly correlated with how much wealth that you will attain. All right. So again, when you change your lens, you can reclaim your focus. So you stop fixating on what you lost and you start to see the lesson. All right. You're not asking why me anymore. You're asking what's next. And that shift, right? That shift doesn't erase the pain that you're experiencing, but what it does is it extracts the purpose of the situation, right? We're gonna feel some emotions, you guys, right? Life is not always gonna feel good. If we set in that not good feeling and we don't add purpose to it, right? We're telling the brain that we're powerless, right? But when we know that pain sometimes is associated with growth, right? If I go work out, like I work out this morning, where I worked on my arms. When I work on my arms tomorrow, I'm expecting my arms to be sore. All right. If I do some stretches in the morning and I kind of stretch past my range, I'm expecting whatever that stretch was to kind of be tender. Does that make sense? So logically, we understand in expansion, when I'm growing, when I'm strengthening, pain is going to come. And guess what? It doesn't always feel good. All right. But we have to get to a point where we're expanding our capacity and we're using these situations that has happened to us not to define who we are, but to get the lesson so we can grow into the individuals that God ultimately created us to be. All right. I had a client one time that said, I wasted 5 years of my life in that relationship. And guess what? We reframed it because I always say I'm the reframe queen. So we reframed that. Listen, I did that what did that 5 years teach you? All right. What did that 5 years prepare you for? All right. And when we reframed it, what did that 5 years teach you that actually prepared you for the next 5 years? What did that 5 years teach you about yourself that can actually change how you do relationships in the next 5 years? What did that 5 years teach you about what you need, what you like in relationships, right? Not I wasted 5 years of my life. And so many of us, it's like I wasted this. I know, no, what did it teach you about your life? And that's the work, okay? And not what did it teach you about the other person, but what did it teach you about you? All right. So as soon as we shifted that perspective, she shifted from shame to strategy and from regret to guess what? Readiness. Ready to what? To get back out there, right? To really learn herself, to grow and develop. Okay. Listen, I once saw a failure in a season that dried up with opportunity that I thought I wanted. I once was in a season that I thought was failure. Okay. And when I looked back at it, I realized that it was actually a setup. It was actually an opportunity for me to grow and expand. All right. So what once and I'm talking about me, right? What once felt like, oh, I guess I would say dry land or like not a good harvest, after life showed up and I asked the right question, I'm like, you know what? That actually happened for a reason. That actually really did happen for a reason. So here's your mirror moment. I want you to pause. All right. And I want you to ask yourself, what have I been calling a problem that might be a pivot? All right. And where have I been praying for escape when God is actually offering a vision? All right. And here's your prompt. If I change my lens, I would what? If I could change my lens about whatever, I would what? Okay. I would what? Because here's the thing. Um, before, hold on. Be, because here's the thing. Not everything sour is a punishment. Okay. Not everything sour is a punishment. Some of it is preparation. Some of it is pressing on you, right? To get you ready, right? And some of it is calling you to look again, to do a second look, a second check. Okay. Good morning. Good morning, Mariah. Grand Rising. All right. So, what have I been calling a problem that might be a pivot? What if the thing that disappointed you, the thing that rejected you, the thing that rerouted you is the very thing that's positioning you for your next level? All right. That job that fell through, that relationship that ended, that opportunity that didn't happen. Guess what? Maybe those wasn't roadblocks. Maybe those were turning points. And maybe you didn't fail. Maybe you're just getting rerouted. All right. But you won't know that if you don't change your perspective. If you don't change your perspective. All right. So here's 5 things I want you to remember. Okay. Before I get there, I want to ask you this. If I change my lens, I will what? Would you stop seeing yourself as behind? Would you realize that this was growth in disguise? If you change your lens, would you thank God for what didn't work for you? Right? If you change your lens, would you forgive yourself and move forward? If you change your lens, would you start dreaming again? Because when your lens shift, guess what? Your language starts to change. And when your language starts to change, guess what? That's where healing starts to happen. All right. So here's 5 things I want you to remember. Bitterness blocks clarity. All right. A lot of times we're asking questions, but we're bitter. We're bitter. And bitterness blocks clarity. Okay. When you're bitter, your lens is cloudy, you guys. You can't see the next step because you're still staring at the last wound. Okay. Bitterness keeps you focused on what happened to you instead of what's possible. All right. What's possible for you now. All right. Clarity comes when the pain, in a sense, disappears or dissolves, or when you shift from pain, all right, to purpose, all right, that is when the clarity starts to happen. All right, so those prayers that you've been seeking answers for, but you're holding bitterness and anger and unforgiveness in your heart, and you're wondering, well, God, why God hasn't answered this prayer? Because you're bitter and you're upset, and that bitterness is guiding you, and it's guiding you into more cleary, muddy water in muddier situations. So, number 2, a renewed mind restores emotional energy. All right. So, when you reframe your thoughts, your energy returns. Right. So, basically, it's like when you can tell yourself something different, you know, you will feel different. Okay. It's like I think about when I'm watching social media and they do the jokes, and I have y'all watched that one where they give the little lottery tickets to people, and the people feel like they didn't scratch it off and they didn't won $1 million. Now here's the truth about it. They ain't won nothing. They just think that they won $1 million. And just the mere thought of having $1 million, guess what? Shifts their whole perspective. Not because they saw it in their bank account, not because they actually out buying, the cars, not even that they just the mere thought that they hit this $1 million, scratched off this $1 million ticket, changed their emotions drastically. And then guess what happens? Then they say, oh, we pranked you, right? Now, the reality of it is they never had the $1 million. They just thought they had it. And then their emotions switch right opposite of that when they realize, oh, I don't have it. All right. So when you reframe your thoughts, you reframe your energy. And I hope that was a good perspective. Like how you think about something is going to determine the energy that you have, because constant negativity, it drains you. And a lot of times we're wondering, like, why am I drained and why it's because you're negative. You're seeing everything is negative, and it may be showing up in road rage. It may be showing up in your phone, right? Like your phone is not moving fast enough, and you like, this phone getting on my nerves, right? It may be showing up in, I don't know how you watching TV, right? So it may not be showing up within people because you're still performing for people, but you may be mad because the microwave didn't heat your food up fast enough, right? So it may be showing up, this negativity that's draining you, and how you're responding to life, all right? Again, constant negativity drains you. Blame and bitterness, guess what? It's exhausting. But when your thoughts can shift from survival to perspective, guess what? Your energy rises with that insight. All right. Science confirms this by saying thought patterns determine your emotional state. New thoughts create new neural pathways and new emotional energy and new possibilities. So when you think it's possible, you know how they take that word impossible and say I'm possible, same word, right? They just put a space in between it. We need to start putting spaces in between our life and stop feeling like the things that you desire is impossible and really start looking at it like I'm possible. I'm possible and it's possible for me to do whatever it is that I want. All right. Number three, your thoughts don't tell you what's real. They tell you what's rehearsed. If we can really just believe this, all of us are psyched in some way, shape, or form because we really do believe our thoughts. But we do have to step in, right? That little girl that I was talking about earlier with the fish, she really felt like that sunfish was dangerous, right? Because her brain told her that until her dad came and said it's not dangerous. All right. So I want you to hear that again. Your thoughts don't tell you what's real, they tell you what's been rehearsed. So if you keep thinking, I always mess up, or nothing ever works out for me, or you can't trust people, or these type of negative, in a sense, contracting thoughts, right? Or that this just is how life is, and that's just how people are, and that's just what people do, right? That doesn't mean it's true. Just because it's a cool slogan, just because you heard it, grandma used to say it, now you say it, and maybe your community say it, it don't mean it's true, okay? It's been rehearsed for so long that it just feels true, all right? But the truth isn't always what feels familiar to you, all right? The truth is absolutely what frees you. And it's not always what feels familiar to you. So I want you to ask yourself, what thought have you rehearsed that's been stealing your peace? I know one for sure, and it just come up in my mind. You can't trust people. I just feel like that steals so many people's peace because we always side eyeing. What you here for? How you trying to get down? What, you know, and the very and I think that it's not serving us because we need community. We need to be able to trust people and trust people to be human, right? Which means that they're going to make mistakes and they're going to get it wrong. And we need to trust that our body is resilient, that we are resilient, and that you may hurt my feelings, but it's not going to break me, right? That sadness or disappointment that I'm going to feel because maybe you didn't do what I expected you to do is not going to break me. So I can allow you to be human and imperfect, right? And I can still trust some areas about you, right? And but the one thing I'm trusting is that you're human. So you're not going to always get it right. And the one thing I'm trusting is that I'm human, right? And that I'm not perfect. And that's why God gives us grace and compassion and love. All right. And that's not easy to do, but you just gotta trust, right? You gotta trust and then you gotta range, right? You gotta trust and then set the range. All right. It's certain people that you don't, and because I want to clarify this. So it's certain people that you may not trust your bank account with. All right. Because why? Because you're trusting that they're human, right? And because I'm trusting that you're human and I know your condition, I can't trust you with my bank account because as a human being, you may be tempted to do something that may violate this relationship. All right. And that's why we set boundaries and expectations and standards, right? To really help us navigate life. Okay. Does that make sense? All right. Number four, perspective is a choice, not a result. So, yes, trauma is real, disappointment is real, but staying bitter, that's not a condition. That is a decision. Okay. So, staying bitter and mad and upset, that's not a condition. That is a decision that you're making every day. All right. You don't wait on perspectives to find you. Guess what? You choose. All right. You choose. How else can I see this thing? How else can I look at this? Right. And if you're finding it difficult to see the situation differently and bitterness has got you and unforgiveness has got you, then I would just say, go seek out help, right? Go seek out help. All right. Because again, you don't wait on perspective to find you. You actually start asking the questions so that you can start to see from a different perspective. All right. And that choice shifts everything. All right. I always say that life, to me, life is like the dining room table, and life is the centerpiece. Okay. And each seat at the dining room table has a different perspective, you know, of that centerpiece. All right. So if I'm sitting to the left of the dining room table, on the dining room table, then I only can see life from the left side. If I'm sitting at the head of the table, then I only can see it from the, and because I know that, right, then I'm very conscious about, okay, this is just how I'm seeing this situation, but there's other viewpoints of this same life or this same situation. All right. So when we can look at life as being the dining room table and there's different seats and life is the centerpiece in the middle, and I only get to sit at this seat, but guess what, I got the power to get out of this seat that's have always shown me just the left side of life and go to the head of the table, go to the other, go to either sides of the head of the table or go to the right side of the table, and that's going to give me a different way of looking at the same centerpiece, at the same situation, at the same life. But some of us feel like this is my seat and I'm sitting in it and this is how I see things. And it's like, yeah, but it's other ways to see it. You don't have to see it that way. But you're choosing to sit at this seat because this seat has served you. This seat has served the story that you tell yourself. This seat has served the emotions that you feel, right? So, in a sense, if you get up and you choose to see this, if you get up from the right side of the table and you go to the left side of the table, and that changes your whole perspective. Now you got to deal with all of the stuff that comes up because now you see it differently. What that looks like is, I thought you didn't like her. What happened that you talking to her now? And you like, well, I end up talking to her and she ended up saying, oh, so basically she didn't told you something and got you thinking. You see how now you got to defend, and where you feel like you got to defend this other side that you're taking in life. And so a lot of times we don't want to deal with that. So we're just rather sit on the right side, never see the left, never see the either head of the table because it's just easier to sit over here. But remember, life is work. All right. And life is about sitting in all the seats. That's why I love the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. She got into the daddy bed and it was too hard, and then she got into the mama bed and it was too soft, and then she got in that little girl bed, the baby bed, and it was just right. Right. But she tried all the beds nonetheless. And she realized that, hey, you know what? The kid's bed is the right bed. Now, I think that story is so powerful because in life, guess what? We go for the king's bed, the father's bed, because we think like, oh, the masculine or whatever that father's bed stands for, that's the best, right, in our mind. And then it's like, well, when that's not working, then we go to the feminine side or the mother side or whatever that represents. And we realize, oh, wait, this is too soft. And what we really realize, this story is so powerful because what you come to realize is that being a child is so flexible, right? There's a level of interdependence, right? In childhood, it's like this flexibility. So it's not too soft, it's not too hard. I get to move, I can imagine, right? And that's why I feel like the back of that story is like, it's not just about her laying in the little kid's bed. It's really about becoming a child again, right? Being creative, making this bed what you want this bed to be, not because it's the father's bed and it's the expectation of the father, or the mother's bed of the expectation of the mother. It's the creativity that we have as children and children of God. Okay, I just went all the way over, but I think that's so powerful. All right. So again, perspective is a choice, not a result. All right. Again, your trauma is real, disappointment is real, but you get to decide. Okay. You get to decide if you want to stay bitter or not. All right. Number 5, God never wasted lemons. Um, God never wastes a lemon. There's always purpose in every press. All right. So God never wastes a lemon. There's always purpose in every press. So listen, we don't send, he didn't send the pain. but he sure will make sure that there's purpose extract from it. Okay. So every tear, every delay, every sour moment, there's something in it that will grow you. All right. There's something in it that will rise you. There's something in it that will allow you to speak through it. So God didn't let what hurt you end you. That wasn't the goal, right? He let it become a part of who you are so it can help you produce the next chapter of your life. All right. So here's my final reflection of that section. If you change your lens, if I change my, I want you to ask yourself, if I change my lens, I would what? All right. And I want you to start there because when the lens shift, the story, the power, and the clarity, guess what? It starts to return. And here's why this is important because um most of us are stuck in seasons that is really more of a lens issue than it is a season issue. All right. It's more of a lens issue than it's a life issue. Why that matters? Because how you see moments really determine how you respond. All right. How you see moments really is going to determine how you respond. Your healing actually accelerates when your vision aligns with truth and not fear. All right. Again, I had another client that said, once I stopped blaming the season and started asking what it was trying to teach me, I started to find more peace and ease in how I was living. All right. And we know that research supports this cognitive reframing, which is CBT, really has been proven to reduce emotional distress and increase resilience by helping individuals reiterate their or re-see or reframe their situation. All right. So today we're talking about focus, right? This is the F in life. And I want you to know 10 things about focus that I think is so important to this conversation. Focus is power. It directs your energy. All right. So whatever you focus on expands. Your thoughts is the steering wheel that drives your emotion. Listen, a negative lens distorts possibilities. All right. So when you look through a lens of pain, of fear, of bitterness, you actually miss out on the opportunities, the very opportunities that you're praying for. All right. Because you only see what you've been hurt by and not the possibilities. All right. Another thing about focus I want you to know is that you can train your mind to see patterns, purposes, and peace. Your brain is adaptable. Okay. It's flexible. It moves. All right. So when you practice, you can teach it to spot growth instead of spotting grief. Okay, you can see it. You can teach it to spot wisdom instead of worry. All right, it's really what you focus on. All right, number four, what you focus on grows. You know, every energy flows. Okay, energy flows where attention goes. All right, so if you feed fear, guess what? The fear gets bigger. What does feeding look like? Talking about it, you know. uh I'm not saying don't talk about it. I'm just saying, hey, we all need to, in a sense, I want to say, process, right? And we all process differently. So some of us need sounding boards, like I need to talk about this. That's not it. That's not the talking about it I'm talking about. Talking about it is you're continue, like every time you're on the phone you're talking about this. I'm gonna give an example. I talk to my grandma. I'm gonna tell you, every time I talk to my grandma, she talking about Donald Trump. Like, it's something that Donald Trump did. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, my grandma is 86 years old, and Donald Trump got my grandma stressed out. Guess what? Donald Trump don't know my grandma. My grandma don't know Donald Trump personally, but that's all she talk about is Donald Trump and what he doing and all this. I'm like, you know what? I get it. It's a very political climate. I'm not saying what he's doing is right or wrong, but I'm saying you talking about it is is affecting you. All right. So again, she talk about him all the time. So it's talking about it, it's bringing attention to it. So guess what? That makes her keep her TV on the news, right? So she's watching the very thing that she doesn't want to, that she doesn't like. And so she's flipping back from news station to news station to see what Donald Trump got going on, because and that's how she's feeding it. You know what I mean? So again, energy flows where it goes. If you feed the fear, it gets bigger. But if you nurture hope, if you start to really strengthen faith and focus on faith, guess what? That gets louder. All right. Number 5, bitterness blocks your blessing. I talked about this earlier. A bitter mindset can't receive beauty. And if it does, it's not sustainable. All right. It filters everything through hurt. So letting go of bitterness actually opens space up for your blessing. All right. And if you need help letting go of bitterness, because some of us feel just in our bitterness, some of us feel just in our unforgiveness. Right. And again, if the situation is the centerpiece, right, and your seat at the table is showing you this situation and you feel just know that there's other situations to look at. I always think about a reason why I was able to forgive my mother is I had to kind of stop looking at her as my mother, right? I had to kind of pause and say, one, this was a woman who had a baby at 15 by assault. And then she had another baby at 17, just hanging out with a guy one day, right? That was a very inappropriate relationship. She grew up with a father that was not the kindest man, all right? She grew up in poverty. She was a beautiful woman who, men tended to take advantage of, right? So when I stepped out of the seat of this is my mother and what I need from her as a mother, and I really started to look at her as a woman and her growth as a woman and what she was able to experience in her relationships. And then she ended up getting into a abusive relationship. When I say abusive, like he beat her, you know what I mean? Like in front of us, behind us, knocked her out, gave her black eyes. It was like, yeah, I wanted a mother, but how could she even be focused on me or even focused on the role as a mother when she got a black eye? When she trying to, you know, figure out how to cook the food right or clean the clothes right or get the house in order so this man won't come home and beat her and her kids. Right? So when I was able to now get up out this seat and really look at this woman, right? This woman who had experienced more trauma than I could ever, you know, fathom, right? It made me have some compassion. Now, it didn't take my desire away because I still wanted the things that I wanted from a mother. But what it made me do is, in a sense, forgive and have compassion for her, right? And then I started to bring people on, like Mama Sharon, or I brung in Miss Green and like all of these other women who became my mother, right? Miss Brenda, right? All of these individuals that served as mother figures in my life to really feel that little girl in me that didn't have a mother, my grandmother, my aunties, and things like that, right? That wasn't the easiest thing. And it's still a journey between me and my mom. But I have to step back and say, she had her own stuff that she got to go through before it even got to me. And a lot of us could say, well, that's why you shouldn't have kids. And that's why, but life is life. And right? Life is life and things happen, and I just say the reason why my mom and daddy had me is because God wanted me here, right? And it wasn't because they was prepared or ready or even wanted a kid. It was because God needed me to come in on January 23rd, 1979 at 5:05 a.m. in the morning, right? Right? All right. And so my life has meaning and purpose because we sure know that Lulu and Frank at that point was not trying to have a baby. They were just trying to have a good time. You understand me? Right? Right? And then I had to say, okay, well, they got that good time created this great individual. All right. Number 6, gratitude is a lens, not a feeling. So you don't wait to feel grateful, right? You choose to look at life or you choose to look through the lens of gratitude. So it's not a feeling, it's like you're recognizing things to be grateful for. All right. Number 7, you're not ignoring your pain, you're shifting how you engage with it. All right. Again, we're not ignoring it, we're just shifting the relationship. All right. So we're focus doesn't mean denial. It means choosing how we relate to pain with curiosity and not collapse, all right, or not avoidance. All right. So I'm curious about why this pain is still with me. And I'm going to talk about it. And maybe when I talk about it in this curiosity, my eyes are going to water up and maybe I'm going to get emotional and things like that. But I'm built for this. Okay. This emotion can move through me. I love watching Harriet Tubman movie when she went into the water and she sat in the middle and she was like, she prayed to God and she said, let this water run through me. And when I find myself in emotional situations that I feel like it's heavy, that is my prayer to God. Let this emotion move through me. All right. All right. Number 8, choosing bitter lens doesn't mean pretend. Choosing a better lens doesn't mean pretending. It means you're reframing. So reframing doesn't lie about reality. What it does is it just gives you a different perspective, and it simply renames the intention. Okay, the intention. So it's the energy that I'm bringing into or how I'm choosing to see the situation. All right. Number 9, you are not your situation. All right. You are the seer of it. And I want us to really start changing. You are not your situation. You are the witness of that situation. So you may have had hard seasons. All right. You may have had hard seasons, but that season didn't define you. You are the observer. All right. Not the thing that's being controlled. All right. You are the person that's actually seeing the situation. And last but not least, in this section, the lens you use today is shaping, guess what? Your life as you move forward. All right. So it's shaping your tomorrow. So the frames you have on today is setting up the experience that you're going to have in your tomorrows. All right. And a lot of times the lens you have on today was shaped by your yesterdays, but you can take it off and say, because I want new tomorrows, I need to put on a different lens. All right. Or you're going to be stuck in your yesterdays. All right. Again, your current perspective is writing your next chapter. So choose wisely. All right. And again, if you need help with that, updating your language and things like that, join a project at shitlittle.com/life. All right. And if you just want to work with me as a synergy coach or in the coaching program, then DM me for those for that information. All right. So here we are at our biblical wisdom. Try to get out of here. I've been here. We had an hour. So these two scriptures are deeply aligned with today's focus. All right. Not just in a spiritual sense, but again, it's they're reaching into the mind, into the body, and really integrating the spirit. Okay. When it I love really taking scriptures and moving them from like this God in the sky, right? And really showing you how how we're experiencing these scriptures in our nervous system. Okay. So again, these verses are some of my favorites, right? So again, Romans 12:2, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. I that's one of my favorites and um go to scriptures. So Romans 12:2, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Listen, this isn't about ignoring your pain or pretending that life is sweet when it's not. This is about God saying, listen, you don't need a new life. You just need a new lens. So your perspective is where transformation begins. It's not about you faking gratitude or faking it to make it, right? It's inviting you to shift your relationship with what is going on. And again, we're in relationship with everything. All right. And we can shift this relationship that we have. I hear people say, I don't like conflict. You got to shift that relationship. You got to start seeing conflict differently. All right. Because conflict is a part of life. And when you don't like conflict, then that means that you're not showing up in your authentic self. Right. So we got to switch your relationship with conflict. I don't like to feel sad. Okay. Well, we need to shift your relationship with sadness, because sadness is an emotion. And a lot of times you need help, and maybe you don't mentally feel that way. Sadness is coming so that you can, right? It's an appetite that needs to be fed. So it's telling you like, hey, you need connection. All right. So we need to shift our relationship. Okay. Again, I don't like to feel anger. We got to start shifting our relationship. Some people even shut off love. And I'm like, no, like I ain't trying to love. I'm like, well, love is God. So how you walking around saying that you don't even want to love anymore, right? You got to shift, because when you love people, they just hurt you. All right, yep, you got to shift your relationship with love, right? Because when we love people, it means that we are learning how to accept people. And the biggest reason why we're learning how to accept people is because, well, we want to be accepted. All right. So again, this isn't about fake gratitude. You don't have to wait for a situation to change. You can change how you see the situation. All right. That is the power of you as a divine being. So we don't have to wait for people, situations, and circumstances to change. We can actually change them just by how we see them, how we choose to see them. All right. And when the mind shifts, your experience with that moment starts to shift. And the faster you can do that, then the more you will see you will experience the beauty of that. Okay, the beauty of it. And then neuroscience supports this. The mind can be rewired. So again, Romans 12:2 lines up perfectly with science of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new thought pathways based on what you focus on consistently. All right. So research shows that your thoughts directly shape your emotions and behaviors. Repeated negative focus increases stress and fear, and then reframing your thoughts increase hope, clarity, and motivation. So when Paul says renew your mind, he's not just being poetic, you guys. He's actually describing the biology of how we can transform and reshape our life. Okay. All right, so science confirms what you change. When you change your thoughts, you can change your brain. And scripture says when you renew your mind, guess what? You can change your life. All right, so our promise verse, Isaiah 43:19. See, I'm doing a new thing. Now it's sprung up. Do you not perceive it? I love this verse because a big part of it is like, I am doing a new thing. Not when you recognize it, like the new thing that's happening is already happening. See, I'm doing this new thing. Now it's springing up. Can you perceive it or do you see it? Do you see the new thing that I'm doing in your life? Listen, God is not asking, am I doing a new thing? He's asking, can you see the new thing that I'm doing? Have you changed your lens to be able to see that thing? Because if your lens is locked in your past, guess what? Your mindset is still reframing and rehearsing that pain. If you're still focused on bitterness, guess what? You miss the miracle, the divinity that's happening right in front of you. So this is God saying, listen, I'm moving, I'm opening, I'm working, I'm shifting, I'm doing the stuff that you're praying for. But your eyes, your focus, they need to align to even be able to see the thing that I'm doing. All right. And that's so important. You know, yesterday I said that one of the biggest things that we have to do is start to see ourselves through God's eyes. And a big part of even I feel like scripture and things like that is really God trying to say, hey, these things are happening, but this is what I count it all joy. I need you to count it all joy, right? I need you to know that it rains on the just and unjust. I need you to know that everything is working for your good. I don't need you to know that for me, for God, right? That's God saying, I don't need you to know that for me. I need you to know that so that you can experience the life that I created for you, so that you can experience heaven on earth, so you can experience the milk and honey, right? So that you can experience the promises of God, right? And if you're not willing to change how you see life, then it's not because life is not blessing you. It's not because the milk and honey is not there. It's not because heaven is not right here on earth right now. It's because you are not allowing yourself to notice it, to see it. Okay. So neuroscience supports this by talking about the reticular activation system. You've heard me talk about this before. Your brain is wired to filter information based off what you believe. And that's why core beliefs are so important. All right. So this is called the reticular activation system. It determines what you notice and what you ignore. So again, if you believe you can't trust people, then you're telling your mind to focus on or see the thing that you can't trust in people to what? To make you right. To make you the right one. See, I knew it. And guess what? We're always searching to be what? To be right. Right? We're always searching. But when we can bet on the odds on the person like a Sheila Little that came from Fourth and Kurt that has experienced, sexual, mental, emotional abuse, right? Physical abuse, grew up in a house where we didn't have food, had to uh light the stove because we didn't have heat, had rats and roaches, right? And somebody bet on me, right? And said, you know, I think I think it's gonna work out for her. I think that she's gonna be a doctor one day. I know the statistics is against her. I know they say when people get raped, molested, grow up with an absent mother, now that their life is going to look like this. But I'm going to bet on her. Just that people coming into my life that just saw that, it probably was 1 out of 50, right? And it was something about that one person that said, you're so beautiful, you're so smart. When everybody was like, you so nosy, you talk too much. But I could tie that one person in each season of my life to really nourish the seed in me, right? That is growing and growing. And even now I can experience, like awe, because I'm like in disbelief a lot of times, right? Right. But because I had the faith of a mustard seed, the belief that I can become the thing that God has created me to be. And because I don't do that for me, but I see that in every person I work with. Oh, you will become the thing. I'm in support of it. I don't have to judge you for that. I'm in support of the person that God created you to be. Matter of fact, I'm going to remind you of it every time we encounter, every time we work together, right? Right. And it's so important because when we have beliefs like that, we're actually focusing on the parts of us that's divine and the parts of us that we want to experience. So again, the brain is wired to filter out information based off what you believe. This is called the reticular activation system. It determines what you notice and what you ignore. So if you believe life is against you, guess what? Your brain will filter for threats. If you believe something new is possible, your brain will look for confirmation, right? And it's something called confirmation bias. I'm not going to talk about that right now, but it will look for confirmation. If you believe that this is just how it is, guess what? You're going to keep cycling in the same patterns over and over and over again, even when new opportunities, new doors, new things come before you, right? Your lens determines your perspective, and your perspective determines your reality. So Isaiah isn't just speaking spiritual, isn't just giving spiritual encouragement. It's neural, right? It's neural activity. It's wired in the brain this way. All right. So I want you to ask yourself, what lens is blocking my ability to see the new thing that God is already doing in my life? All right. Let that sit in that for a minute. All right. Because sometimes the miracle isn't late, it's just being filtered out or not being seen by the bitterness, by the unforgiveness, and by whatever your focus is on. And sometimes your focus is on the other people and not enough on you. All right. So sometimes clarity isn't far away, it's just blocked by old focus. Okay. Okay. So let's put that into practice. Okay. Let's put that into practice. Number one, I want you to identify one area where you've been rehearsing bitterness, and then I want you to use the lemons to lemonade framework to reframe it, and then declare your new focus out loud. Your journal prompt for today is, if I change my lens, I would what? Okay, if I could change my lens, I would what? Your affirmation, listen, I'm not stuck. I am seeing with new eyes. All right. Your intention for today, I choose to see the lesson, not the lemon. That's a word. Today, I choose to see the lessons, honey, and not the lemons. All right. Your bonus challenge for today. Listen, catch every negative thought and ask, is there another way to see this? Is there another way to see this? Okay. All right. Again, if you want to be a part of the project, if this lesson has helped you, um, if you feel some expense you want to be a part of the project, go to sheetalittle.com/life. All right. And we already know if today's session really resonated with you, all right, and you're walking away with some clarity and insight, just drop a fire in the chat and let's celebrate our growth together. And then we have that call, that challenge, and that charge. I'm asking, what lens are you releasing? All right. The challenge is to use the lemonade framework, right, once this week. And then the charge, choose to see your life through truth and not trauma. And if you're having some issues with doing it again, reach out to go to psychology.com. They got better help platforms. Like it's different places that you can search to get those help, to get the help that you need. Or you can just join the project. All right. Tomorrow we're talking about it's our last week. We're wrapping it up with E. All right, we're talking about suppression takes energy. So let's set it free. We're moving into emotional release and reclaiming your energy. This week was all about transforming your perspective. So again, on Monday we talked about. I'll tell you tomorrow. I can't even think about it right now. Yeah, we talked about transforming your perspective. So Monday we talked about seeing the patterns. Today we're talking about yesterday we talked about transforming your perspective. Today we talked about focus, right? From lemons to lemonade. And tomorrow we're talking about the energy, right? Really releasing this energy. Your emotional takeaway for today, God can still do something new, but you've got to see it. And if you can't see it before you see it, you may never see it. So change your lens, change your focus so that you can change your life. Because you already know if you can shape it in your mind, you can have it in your life. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. And I will see you tomorrow for that life lesson. Till later.